Good evening. Good evening. I just got off another conversation and I'm just excited for this young lady. Hope you guys enjoying your evening. Please like and share the video. We're just waiting for this next guest for the evening to come on. I just had a nice conversation with Lavish Foster, who I went to school with, and she's out here winning. This one tonight, hold on, y'all. I have another one. I'm so excited. Good day.
How you
Good
doing?
evening. Evening? Yes, it's definitely evening.
Can you hear me?
So I can hear you, but I hear feedback.
Me too. I don't know where it's coming from. I honestly do not know how to get this all.
Do you have headphones?
Okay, let me go on.
Okay. We just waiting. So this evening, so we're just waiting. I hope you guys are enjoying your evening. I am having a great time on here. We're just waiting for Silver to come back with some headphones, so we don't have a lot of feedback coming back from the phone. But in the meantime, I want to say thank you guys. Hold on.
Okay, is that
Is
better?
that better? I think so. I don't hear anything.
Okay, cool.
Do you hear anything?
Nope, I don't hear anything.
Okay. So we're gonna start this off with for all those who are on, please like and share the video. And I start off the show saying that welcome to Keeping It Real Conversations with Sunshine. That's myself. Also that I believe in the 6 degrees of separation, and that I believe that we are one person away, one idea, one tip away from where we want to be in life. So, from that point, I'll tell the people how I know who I'm talking to.
Okay.
So, I know Silver. It's been a couple of years now, and it was actually through church.
Mm-hmm.
We used to fellowship, and she was very. I would say Silver is one of the people that you had to know. Um, She has her own unique personality that you probably believe is like lightning in a bottle. I'm gonna say it that way. It's very unique. It's out of the box. It's nothing traditional about Silver at all.
No.
Um, the first thing that I thought was, well, we'll talk about the condition that she has right now. That I know the Lord is gonna heal her from. And I was wondering, how in the world is she up there praise dancing? I still don't know to this day. Like, how is she doing this and she has this condition? And so over time, she would have moments where everything was peachy. And then there was some moments where it was like, I can't move. And I didn't understand at first because I was the newcomer in the group or to the church. I didn't know her history at all. So we're going to go from the church. All the silver dollar. Oh yeah, y'all don't know about that. That she does, and we're gonna go from God. We're gonna go from what you do as a profession. And if y'all don't understand, this is like Baby Rosa Parks right here. Okay, y'all thank me later. And what's going on at your Is that your mom's house, right?
Sort of, kind of, I guess.
Kinda, sort of. We're gonna talk about that too. So, take it away.
Okay. I don't know exactly what you want me to start with. You listed a lot of
Let's
things.
go with being at the place where we worship together. Let's go from there.
And what about it?
So, uh, let's go with defining your physical body.
Okay. So you talking about MS.
As
That's what you want
far
me
as
to talk about.
MS.
Okay. Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
just say it. um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, about it'll be going on 6 years in May. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I got the diagnosis after probably December of the previous year, maybe November, December the previous year, starting to have some weird was going on in my feet. I didn't know what it was, but something was going on. So I went out. I hadn't been to a doctor in like quite a while at this point. I didn't even have like
Mm-hmm.
a physician. So I went and found one, went to see the doctor. And this by this point it was January. And I remember it was January because everybody fasts in the month of January. So I had been fasting and she was like, well, maybe that's the issue and watch that. And I'm like, no, it ain't because I'm fasting. But she referred me to a podiatrist, a foot doctor. They said, oh, it's probably just something going on with your feet. I'm like, okay. I didn't think that was right, but I didn't know what it was. So I went then to the podiatrist. They told me, oh, it's just like an inflamed nerve in your feet, and that's what the issue is. They're rubbing against each other, whatever. Here is some meds to take. So I take what they gave me, and it was okay. It did, I was feeling okay for a little bit, but then the stuff that was in my feet and my leg, it started coming up to my legs, and then it came into my hands. And the day I knew, I was like, okay, something for sure isn't right. I was before service. I was a praise dancer at that time. We were cutting, like I was cutting fabric or whatever to like wave as we danced, and I was struggling to hold the scissors. So I'm like, okay, that clearly wasn't it. Let me find another doctor. So I go back and search for another primary care doctor. And while I'm in with him, he ran through like to get a feel of what I was experiencing. And he said that he thought then it could be MS. Wasn't sure, there was no official diagnosis, but based on what I was saying, he thought it could be MS. So while I was in his office, or in the physician room, whatever you call it, he called a neurologist he knew, like, hey, can you get this girl in? Went in for that appointment with her. I told her the same thing. She was like, yeah, I think so, but we have to get an MRI to confirm it. Went later, got the MRI, and by this time, on May, I know it was a Thursday. Specifically remember it was a Thursday because I was supposed to go to church for prayer that night, but I had an event that same day. I was getting recognized for like this teaching award or whatever. So I had stayed late at work so I can go straight from work to the event. And while I was at work, at the end of the day, I talked to the neurologist on the phone, and they confirmed the diagnosis based on what they saw in the MRI. So I took like 2 seconds, and I didn't want to go to the event, but I knew I had made a commitment, and they were spotlighting me, so it'd be noticeable if I didn't go. So I got myself together, went on, to the event, and then just like had some conversation with people after it, talk to pray, and then move on. So it's been almost 6 years. 6 years in May now, living with MS, and it has been a series of highs and a series of lows. Not a single thing to complain about, but a series of highs and lows. I think that I have done well in maintaining joy and faith throughout this whole thing. Will not tell a lie that like, oh yeah, I'm always like so over the moon and nothing gets me down. I'm not even gonna tell that lie. I was just having a moment yesterday. But God has been faithful throughout all of the hills and the valleys that is this life living with MS. So I guess that's the synopsis. I don't know if there's anything more specific. But yeah.
So with that, because I remember seeing you sometimes with the canes, sometimes the walker. Um, so how does it work? Like, is it like one day, you wake up and I can't move. Uh, I'm having, struggles. I know I seen you on a couple of times talking about the infusions, right?
Yeah. So I'm actually right now, like I'm sitting, so I'm not dealing. But if I was to leave the house right now, I would probably leave. I would leave on a cane right now from where I'm at. But yeah, so I have everything from either cane, a walker, or a wheelchair. I haven't used a wheelchair unless it's something where I know I might be having to stand a lot or moving a lot that will require me to take my wheelchair out, but that's not as common of an occurrence. So it really depends. I've been in this, what the version of MS that I have is called relapsing remitting MS. And so basically with that, you will go into moments of a relapse, right? Like where new or worsening symptoms will arise, and then you will remit. And that's the moment where it's like all good again. And nobody would know unless I told them on the remitting part, at least for the visible symptoms. So people only see the visible. There's not a day that goes by that I don't feel like, yeah, this is still here.
Yeah.
It's just most things are invisible. So nobody really would know anything was going on until I do have those days where my walking is impaired. So whether that is like that my balance is really bad, that there's some pain there. So it really depends. It can be triggered by stress, but it is a lot of times that I wake up in the morning and it's just like, today's not the day. So I think that's kind of the part that has been a little difficult, that this is so unpredictable. You can't really plan your life around it because it does have a mind of its own. So I've been in this relapse for probably about the last 3 months, I would say. So like, yeah, for like the last 3 months, I've been cane or walker bound. Thankfully, I did take my wheelchair out when I planned to go vote. But I did early voting, so I was just going to the place to drop absentee. Thankfully, though, they didn't. They were like, "No, you're good. We'll bring it out to the car." So I'm like, "Well, that's the easiest voting experience I've ever had." They just did the drive-by voting, so I didn't have to get the wheelchair to roll out on that. Yeah, so it depends on the day. I know my body well enough now, at least because it's been so long, that I know how to kind of adjust when it does come on, and to manage and to be able to deal with it, which in most cases just go sit down somewhere until you can be up as you need again. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back and pin something you said. Now you said that it can't be triggered by stress.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm thinking to myself, she just said it could be triggered by stress. And what do you do for a living?
So I'm an educator. So okay, I will say this: it can be triggered by stress. I don't really do stress like that. So a lot of the moments that it has come up isn't actually because of stress. I know for a fact though. I did have a few years ago a time that I was in the hospital for 3 weeks after a really bad relapse. That one, oh, for sure, was a stress thing. And I'm from that moment, I did make adjustments to my job. I think at that time I was teaching 3 grade levels, 8 classes a day. My lunch was only 20 minutes. I don't know who made that schedule, but it was only a 20-minute lunch. I shared my classroom. So even on my prep for the day, that would be like 45 minutes. I had to go somewhere else because there was a class in my room. So it was just a whole lot during that time. And that I know is what did put me in the hospital. And that it was a lot on my body. So there are moments where even if I'm not stressed mentally, I did have a moment like this school year where it was a nice, wonderful staff meeting that was kind of all over the place. And I could feel that my body was different getting up than it was when I sat down. So, yeah, there are moments that it can be not like mental stress, like, oh my God, but there are moments that it has been triggered by stress, but not all the time, because I tend to actually not be pretty overwhelmed and stuff. So with teaching though, I did move out of the classroom and I'm now served as an instructional coach. So I'm an administrator now. And I did move to that large in part to kind of be a little kinder to my body. It was a very hard decision, but this was a moment that I had to choose me because I had a lot of difficult days teaching in this way. So it would just be today I'm just teaching from a chair. Like my class was fine, everything was in order, so it was okay if I wasn't circulating in the room, which is what teachers should do. I'm just teaching from the chair today. So just to give myself a release and I wouldn't have to worry about that because I used up all of the sick days on multiple occasions. So I did make a transition outside of the classroom to kind of be a little better to my body. I love teaching, but I'm really a fan of walking as well.
Right.
So I did have to make that shift. I was in the classroom for 6 years before I made the shift. So now I'm 2 years in leadership, school leadership.
So, it was something I was about to say. So with your condition, is that considered a health concern that can be on disability if you chose to?
Yeah, I could. I don't desire to do so, but I could. I was on short term disability after when I was in the hospital after that time because that next check. I mean, thank God I was salaried, so I still got a check like when the payday came. But the one after that, that next payday was looking real like nothing. So thankfully, my short term disability was able to pay that back. But I could go on disability if I wanted to. Not a desire of mine. It is a chronic illness. So at this particular time, it's not like it's a set cure for it. And so I think because of the level of condition, I probably could. Yeah, I could get disability. I just don't want to do nothing like that. But yeah,
Right. That was my next question
yeah.
to see if it was an actual cure for it.
Hmm.
Like a lot of the stuff that they're trying to come up with, like a vaccine or um some type of superpower pill. I don't know
Yeah.
what they're doing in that condition, because actually you're the only person that I know uh, that has this condition. I mean, that I can physically touch.
Yeah.
That I know anything about this.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
didn't know anybody beef. I know of people now, and I did have a family member that was diagnosed after me. But yeah, no, they're in research stages right now, so it doesn't get as much attention like as a cancer walk might get, or they have these big walks to raise money for it. There is they do MS walks and stuff like that. It's just not as much attention as like what breast cancer particularly would bring. But yeah, it's still an ongoing process of research to figure out what a cure might be for this. It's a lot that doctors still don't know. They still don't even have to be able to tell you like, oh, this is how you got it. So it is a lot that is
Yeah.
unknown about this. There are different treatments that do come out. Because there's a lot more commercials now. I don't know if I just never noticed them before, or if there is an increase in commercials about medication or treatments for MS. So there are different treatments that come out, but there isn't a set cure for it as of yet. As of yet.
So if like say for instance on the flip side of it, if you a person who has MS and decides, you know, and I'm not taking no infusions, I'm not taking no medicine. So are you saying basically your nervous system is just gonna completely shut down,
Mm-hmm.
or does it take time to reheal itself? How does that work?
So I have done the treatment that I use right now is infusion. So I do go monthly every 28 days. And I'm infused with what's called Tysabri. So just like somebody would go for chemo or dialysis or something like that, you go in a room with all of these people that are hooked up to machines. It's the same kind of thing for that. I have also taken pill medication like daily, but then I moved to this once a month. So if you choose to not do any, if you feel like the Lord told you don't go on anything, then that's between you and God. I wouldn't say don't listen if he clearly told you. I wouldn't recommend anybody say I'm not doing anything unless like you know that God said don't do it. But the purpose of these treatments, while no, it's not a cure, the purpose of it is to help to kind of manage it and slow any progression, to reduce the amount, because this is a neurological thing, it's impact of the brain and spinal cord. And the way it impacts it
Okay.
is you have a covering on your brain and spinal cord called the myelin. And if you think about it like a phone charger, this is the example I usually use. And your phone charger, you have obviously like the wires and the cord on the inside, but on the outside, you got either a black or white thing that's covering all those cords in the inside. And if you might get your cord that it might nick, so if you got a rip in it or a tear in that white or black covering on it, your charger won't work properly. The signals won't match. It's kind of like that. So the myelin is the equivalent of that white or black part on your charger, protecting everything inside of it. And with somebody that has MS, they have lesions in that space. So like tears or scarring that kind of causes the cords to kind of haywire and signals not to go and function the way they should. So what the treatments do is try to decrease to slow the progression of new lesions, new nicks on the myelin and protect on that case. So I mean, unless the Lord tells you don't do it, I wouldn't recommend you say like, nah, I'm not gonna do none of the stuff. Because I do know of people that did not do that, and things could have been prevented for them if they would have did what they were supposed to do, as with any condition, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was I was surprised one day that I was on your page and it popped up that Silver not only preaches,
I won't say
mm-hmm,
that, but okay.
and she was out um, doing some, I don't know, all the topics that you were an activist on. I said, wow, I'm looking at a younger version to me of a Rosa Parks or anyone else that um, really is boastful in speaking out on, especially when it came down to the teachers, um, and just your style. Like you live and embody to me like Black Lives Matter, like for real.
Mhm.
And some people don't have, I would say, that call on them to be like that. Some people just go with the flow. They don't say much, or if they say something, it's behind closed doors. So, what it prompted you to, you know, be the one, to the outspoken one, that we see, um, fighting for injustice, for, you know, whatever that case may be.
Yeah, so I don't do nearly as much like direct action kind of protest demonstration, what have you, as I used to. I'm not to say that I won't. Like if there's a reason for me to go do it tomorrow, if my legs work and it ain't a pandemic, then
Right.
yeah, I'll go do it tomorrow. But I don't do as nearly as much as I used to. For me, I would say it my started in college, my junior year of, well, there was like breadcrumbs leading up to this moment, but I guess my like real big coming of age moment, my junior year of college, I was the vice president of the Black Student Alliance at Michigan State University, went on to be the president my senior year. But my junior year in particular, we were hit with a lot of craziness that was happening there. So we had a minor 2020 when I was my junior year of college, and just like a whole lot of like racial tension, racism that was happening on campus that year. So being that I was a part of the Black Student Alliance, we kind of led up a lot of the charge for that on our campus. So whether that meant a couple of, you know, marches, protests that went to demands that we put before the university, going into weekly negotiation meetings with the university. So we're talking the president of the university, the VPs of the university, all the major heads on negotiating of these demands that we were making in various areas. So demands in terms of courses, academic courses for students, talking about racial sensitivity training, multicultural education, talking about how we wanted things to be addressed across the board. So there was a list, I would say, maybe like 12 different demands that we researched, how we planned it out, and we went into meetings for that for a year. And it was a lot of things that happened that particular year. So that was kind of probably my big charge. That also was the year that Trayvon Martin was murdered by George Zimmerman. All of that took place that same year. So that was the spark of things for me. Moving forward, the summer before I began to teach, I went into teaching, you know, straight out of college, right after I graduated. So that summer was the summer in which George Zimmerman would be acquitted for the murder
Oh,
of
yeah.
Trayvon Martin. And then I was teaching summer school that moment. So I will not forget, I was in Chicago at the time. We were on the train. And somebody came on the train and announced it to us. I couldn't believe that it was real. I got off the train because I didn't have no reception, looked at it and confirmed that, yeah, that was the case. And I was doing summer school. So a couple of days later, I had to go back and look at my students. The second year next year, going into my second year of teaching, I went down to Ferguson the Labor Day weekend right before the school year started. And this was after Mike Brown was murdered by Darren Wilson, right? And so we spent that weekend down in Ferguson protesting and everything like that. And that Monday, I went back into the classroom for my students. So my activism, I don't think has looked the same at all times. Not to say I haven't left direct action across the board. Like, no, I've blocked off a couple of streets, right? Like I have laid down in traffic once or twice, right? So I've still done that, but my activism also comes in what I do for my students in the classroom. I'm a firm believer that I am and will remain a teacher for Trayvon, and I commit myself to turning up and never turning down, but to do this for Mike Brown. And that's kind of why I do everything that I do in the classroom and everything that I try to empower other educators to do in the classroom now that I'm on the leadership end and don't necessarily have a Miss Moore's room of my own. So all of that kind of comes into it, and that is kind of what fuels the why of what I do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, if I'm understanding this, you created your own, is a curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that one more time. So, Silver here again created a curriculum. And I was seeing, some reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your first or second year doing it?
Second, yep.
So how did you come up with that?
Yeah, so when I started doing when my first year teaching, I was not at all the teacher I wanted to be, right? Like I had all of these visions of being this woke teacher, but the reality is don't nobody know what they do in their first year. I don't care what they say to you. There is not a such thing as a first year teacher that is straight killing the game. Everybody's just scratching and surviving, trying to make it through the day. So I was just scratching and surviving, trying to make it through the day. And I wanted to do the work, right? But I did not know how to do it. I didn't have the resources to do it or, where to begin. So I began my second year after I came back from standing on a place that Mike Brown was murdered. Like, I got to figure this out. I didn't know what I was doing my first year, but I for sure need to figure this out and started doing the work. And I got really into lesson planning. Um, a lot of teachers do not like lesson planning. It is my favorite part of the job is being able to plan the lessons that I'm having for that day. So there's this website called Teachers Pay Teachers, which is sort of like Amazon for teachers, where you go and teachers create different products and sell them on their teaching resources, lesson plans, worksheets, whatever. And so I put a couple of things on there just after I taught them. I would put them on there, but not like a real business at all. But after I had that wonderful 3 weeks in the hospital, and they're like, all right, I got to make some changes. I knew that I was going to be going to part-time teaching that following year, but my bills are going to still be full-time bills. So I had to figure out a way to be able to pay those full-time bills on a part-time income. And so that's when I was like, let me try and make a business out of this. That year, Angie Thomas had just wrote the book, The Hate You Give, which was an absolutely amazing read. And I'm like, I'm going to take this book and I'm going to make a curriculum out of it. And so I worked on it for a few months and released a module of different like teaching resources based upon the book, The Hate You Give. And that was August of 2018 when I released that to hopefully help teachers that wanted to be those woke teachers like I wanted to be and did not know where to start or how to do that work, or even just needed support because you got your hands in a million different places. You might not have time to do the research or to write the lesson plan. So that is how I ended up creating that. And I've been pleased at how where it has gone in these 2 years. It's not like no Shark Tank level business. I ain't gonna put it out there like, oh, I'm just boiling out of control off a classroom clapback. But I am definitely really pleased at where it has gone in the classrooms that I have been able to touch and impact through this curriculum. Yeah.
That's really. I would have never thought about using that as a curriculum to help other teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes because my sister is a teacher, and this whole virtual thing, because a lot of her students are um, love to be in the classroom with each other or just the touch and feel type thing. A lot of her kids are having issues with that.
Mm-hmm.
And even as as herself as a teacher, um, we all have to do something different to still engage the kids.
Yeah.
So I think I have shared the information with her before um, about that. Like I said, I'm a big advocate in somebody that do something or whatever the case may be. I'm going to share it because we never know, where we can get the resources from, the help, and anything that make my life easier. I'm all for it.
For sure.
I don't have to bump my head no more. I'm good. Please let me know.
Yeah.
Also, I want to touch bases with your block.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't want to mess this name up. I know it's SD. What is it? Or
SDM2.
SM?
SDM2 Project
I knew I was
Education.
close.
It's okay.
I've been over there before you guys had all the let's see. Last time I was there, you didn't have the not hang gliding. What is
Oh,
it?
the zip line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been over there in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was introduced to it, it was you guys had some people come over. You had the library with the books,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time, I think your mom and dad were doing the not farm, vegetables
Mm-hmm.
and gardening, and I'm like, wow, this is dope. So here we are. You can come whatever day you guys had it. If you want food, it's right here. And to get your community here to help with the gardening, it was amazing. So shout outs to your
Thank you.
parents, your sister, of actually thinking beyond themselves and actually making legacy in your neighborhood, which, if I'm not mistaken, was recognized
Mm-hmm.
by not only by the community, but it was recognized by the news, TV.
I mean, there's been news before, but I'm guessing you're talking about the Spirit of Detroit award we got a couple of years ago. Detroit
Mm.
City Council, we were awarded, the Spirit of Detroit award.
So how did you guys come up with that?
So this, it hasn't always been a 501c3 nonprofit, but it has been around 20 plus years. And it started when I was trying to learn to read. I was a struggling reader. So what my dad actually did was he bought books for everyone in my class. Um, because I was a struggling reader, he sold them to the entire classroom. And from there, we ended up starting to have what we call Kitty Day. This is before we got to Lenore, the Black Room right now, where we used to stay. We have these Kitty Day events. And, for the kids in the community, it was during the summertime. People always thought it was my birthday, but I'm a December baby. So they were actually bringing me gifts. They were thinking it was my birthday. And they're like, no, it's not my birthday. It's just an event that we're doing. So that was kind of where it started. And then from there, once we moved to where we are at right now, which we have what we affectionately call Moore Park, which is essentially the backyard of my parents' house. We started having these back to school events, and they just got bigger and bigger and became events where we've given out book bags and school supplies. We've given out some computers. We've given out printers. We've given out scholarships. We've had workshops at them, just a lot of and fun stuff. So there's been mobile dentists, video game trades, like a whole lot of just fun stuff for the community and growing in that. But what took it to the next levels after we have been doing these back to school events for years, which we give out probably about 250 backpacks a year. But we had this sign that we would have at the events, and it would say, "This is my year" on them. And we would invite guests to write, going into the next school year, what is their year for? And so we were looking at some of the things that students were writing on it, and they would say things like, "This is my year not to get suspended. This will be my year to get all A's," or "This will be, my year to do better in math," whatever they might be saying. And so we're like, all right, we got to do more. What the back to school events are great. Everybody loves them. But we need to do more. So from there, we went on and we purchased actually the house that I live in now, that we convert into a community center. So youth are able to come. We've shipped some things, obviously, due to COVID, but come here to get tutoring throughout the school year, do their homework, have access to computers, have access to the printer, are fed dinner. We were doing that a couple of days a week. Then we moved on to having mentorship programs for both boys and girls. We had do an overnight camp. Again, we have this space that's affectionately known as Moore Park. It's Detroit, but the yard space, you wouldn't know it was Detroit because it's a lot of space back there. So we allowed them to camp out, pitch tents and things like that. And so just various different programs that we've had to continue to build our community by supporting our youth, promoting literacy. And from there, it's been the community gardens and weekly food distributions and various just other things that we are involved in doing on the regular, just for our community. So yeah, it started out 20 plus years ago in a very, very small form to now what it is. And we just continue to desire to grow it more and more to be able to offer more support to our community, Detroit as a whole. But we do a lot, localized right in our neighborhood.
So I have two more subjects that I wanted to touch on. One was I know that you had lost your grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my sister on not too long ago how we cope with someone very close to us passing away. And your grandmother was a singer, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how did you cope with her passing away?
Yeah, so I lost my grandmother last year. My grandmother passed. It was very, very unexpected. She was completely healthy, and then out of the blue, health stuff hit her, and then she passed away maybe a month or two after that. And actually, on the 1 year anniversary of her funeral, I lost my grandfather this year, 1 year exactly after that. So it is a ongoing process. There is no like, yeah, and coped. I've dealt with it. It is an ongoing process on that. Holidays will, very different now. Because especially for my grandmother, because Christmas was her holiday and that was really, really big. And so, it's been 2 Christmases now without her. Neither one has been the same. Now we're going into the season of like first holidays without my grandfather being here as well. So, losing my mom's mom and then my dad's dad within a year of each other, definitely is a shift in what family looks like. So yeah, I don't got no good advice on how you cope with that because it's an ongoing process. But just still even, holding on to memory as much as you possibly can. I'm very thankful that not long before my grandfather had passed, towards the earlier in the pandemic, there was a protest that teachers put together, Detroit educators put together at the Detroit police station. And I spoke at the rally. And I didn't realize that. I knew there were news people there. I didn't know that anybody was there filming while I was speaking, but apparently there were. And I figured this out because my grandfather actually called me. Is that you that I saw on the news with the megaphone? Blah blah blah. So I'm really thankful that happened because I lost him very not long after that. So at least I knew he left proud of me, right? Like at least I knew that one of the last things he saw of me was something that called him, and he was very excited to say like, oh, that's my granddaughter out there. He was able to do our nonprofit. We put together a small graduation event for some of the boys and girls in our mentor program because they couldn't have their graduation. So he put together a small ceremony for them. And while he was still sick, he was like, I'm going to be there, and came down to see that. So I'm thankful that even in his last few days, he did get to see things that said like, I am proud of, my dad, his son, things that they are doing. I'm proud of what my grandmother or my granddaughter is doing. So that helped with that, to at least know like he left this earth seeing us do things that made him proud, and kind of, like holding on to that I know my grandfather was proud of me. I know my grandmother. She still is the flyest person I know, and will be the flyest person I will ever know. And so I want to, at my best, keep her legacy of flyness as best as I possibly can. I said I want a shoe. I've always wanted a shoe closet that can compare with hers. I'm not quite there yet, but that is the hope, that I'm going to stack and stack and stack some shoes so that my closet resembles what my grandmothers did. And just holding on to their memories and their legacies, and honoring them and their passing the best way that I possibly can.
That's good. And I've said it before. Like everybody deals with um, death differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's no cookie cutter to it.
Right.
Um, some people, go out and do everything that they remember with that person. For me, I shut down for a couple of years. Like no holidays for me, nothing. I wasn't ready. And that circle has actually, finally changed within the last 2 years, where I'm good now. So everything, like they say, it does take time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Still being um honest and open with your feelings about it. I some For some people, it's counseling, and I've done that too. And sometimes it's just working itself out. Um, I did have one more thing to talk about, but unfortunately, I can't
All
remember.
right.
That happens sometimes when you get older.
Oh gosh.
And it was two things. I said that. I know I did.
You did say two things.
I can't remember. Yeah. So I will say, like I told the person I talked to before you, that I will pin a flower on you now, because I have watched you over the years, and I can say that even with the condition that you currently have, you um you make it look easy.
Show ain't. but,
I'm sure of
but
it.
yeah.
But you make it look easy. Even in the condition, I've seen you in heels,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd be like, how in the. But however, and then I've seen you, in the pictures where you're hooked up to the machines,
Mm-hmm.
IV, and um, one thing that I wanted to say to you is, even in the condition that is going on, you don't let that stop you. And for some people who have those conditions, it's like they take it as death sentences,
Mm-hmm.
or that type of thing. And I've never heard you complain about it. um, and I was around you for a minute, with the dance ministry and all the things that we did together, even with the girls group that we had started at the church.
Mm-hmm.
He never complained. Um, in some circumstances, I don't know
You
how,
went out just. I don't know
and
if it
I
was
know
on my
it's not.
end, but I couldn't hear you. You froze on my end for a second.
Yeah, my phone rung.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Excuse me.
I'm just proud of who you are,
Oh, thank you.
who you're becoming, because it's like I'm looking at a beautiful butterfly coming out of this cocoon,
Thank you.
and every time that I see you on your page and your live and all of these things, it's like I remember when. But silver to me is um, always constantly evolving. So I just want to make sure, when I had this opportunity to have this platform, because I still can't remember what that last thing was. But however, I said I need to have silver on here because you have certain people in your circle who are just dope in themselves. Like, I've always thought you were dope,
Thank
even
you.
in the outside conversations that we had before. Is like, okay, if Silver can do it, I can do it. And to see you, evolve and even a change, and you could, like you said, you could have been on disability, um, but you're still pressing. You're still going on because you still got to live. So, um, kudos to you.
Thank you.
Even though
Thank
I
you.
don't like Michigan State, they still put out a good product in
They
her.
always do. They always do.
I'm not gonna comment to that. But however, thank you so much
No,
for
thank you for having
taking
me.
the time out and let's have this conversation. I'm going to shortly, soon, get my schedule together for going into the new year because I have overwhelmed myself with these conversations of having back-to-back conversations 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
We're not doing that in
Yeah, no.
listen, we're not doing that in the next year. Nope, 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 we can't. So I'm gonna have you on again, and when there's, I don't want to say the block, um you guys collectively in your community do something else, I will definitely, please let me know if
For
you're
sure.
doing anything else, um getting your curriculum out here, whatever I can do to promote, please let me know. Again, if you're on, like and share the video. And for those who have MS, here you have someone who is living proof that um, you got to take one day at a time. It's not easy. She's not making it seem like she over here being superwoman, but it's doable. And she's still working and out here fighting for injustice in any way that she can. So again, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
I appreciate it.
Um, no problem. And again, I will get back with you, and I will talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. You have a great, happy new year.
All right, you too.
All right. Bye bye.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.